board will now come to order. Madam Clerk, please call the roll.
Alderwoman Tyus. Alderwoman Middlebrook. Alderman Beezley. Alderwoman Evans. Alderman Page. Alderwoman Engrossment. Alderman Coder. Alderwoman Rice. Alderman Gunther. Alderman Vollmer. Alderwoman Martin. Alderman Stevens. Alderwoman Schweitzer. Alderwoman Howard. Alderwoman Green. Alderman Oldenburg. Alderwoman Peel. Alderman Todd. Alderwoman Davis. Alderwoman Spencer. Alderman Muhammad. Alderman Boyd. Alderman Vaccaro. Alderman Narayan. Alderman Cone. Alderwoman Clark Hubbard. Alderwoman Boyd. President Reed.
Here.
Alderwoman Tyus. Alderwoman Middlebrook. Alderman Beezley. Alderwoman Engrossment. Alderwoman Martin. Alderman Stevens. Alderwoman Green. Alderwoman Davis. Alderwoman Spencer. Alderman Muhammad. Alderman Cone. 18 present, you have quorum.
Quorum being present, I'll ask everyone in the chambers and the galleries to please join me in a moment of silence. We lost Orlando Watson this week. Orlando was a longtime entrepreneur in the city of St. Louis, the owner of Prime 55 restaurant, and a music producer that was known across the country. Orlando was one of the original teams to start out with Nelly, and we know that that broke records all, not just across the country, but around the globe. St. Louis lost a great ambassador in Orlando, and family lost a great father. His wife lost a great husband, and St. Louis, it's going to be it's a major loss to the city of St. Louis. So it's going to be a tough time for a lot of people as we go through this. But please stand if you're able to, and join me in a moment of silence for Orlando Watson before we begin. Giving all honor to God, Almighty God, source of all authority, we humbly ask guidance in our deliberations and wisdom in our conclusions. Amen. We dispense, well, first, welcome back, everyone. Not that we've been gone. We got a lot done over the Zoom calls. Matter of fact, this board has been more productive than nearly all legislative branches of government, not just across the state of Missouri, but across the country. We continue to see hundreds of bills filed each session, and we managed to get through all of them. Some of them have very heavy debate, which is always good because it helps us to refine that final product. So welcome back to all of you, and thank you for being here this morning. We've dispensed with line item 3. Any introduction of honored guests? Any introductions of honored guests?
I have my card too. I put my mic on.
Alderman from the 23rd.
Yes, as always, sitting in the gallery today is my good friend Greg Meyer and my special guest.
All right. Welcome, Greg. Any further introductions? Alderman from the 10th like to wrap us up.
President, members of the board, hello, 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 hello. Thank you. As we gather here on April 18th, 2022, this is National Dingus Day. Let's just leave that alone. But on this day in 1775, Paul Revere and his buddies rode through the town, letting everyone know that the British had arrived. But more importantly, today is April 14th. Down in the Collector of Revenue's office, they're celebrating two birthdays. The collector and the deputy collector, Greg Daly and Tom Vollmer, who are on the office, are actually born on the same day, just a few years apart.
Oh, wow. Well, congratulations to both of them. We would dispense with line item 5. And also, before we begin, now that more people have showed up, the clerk's working on protocols, so you'll all get that via your email, and we'll also make sure the media has it so that as we go through this transition time, we assure that the staff and everybody who decides to attend our meetings can, when they show up here, they don't leave here with anything they didn't bring with them. So, we want to make sure that we stay safe and all of our staff stay safe along the way. Report of city officials.
Report of city officials can be found in A, B, and C of the agenda and has been placed in the aldermen's mailboxes.
All right. We dispense with line item 7. Would anyone like to take any bills or resolutions from any of our informal calendars? Would anyone like to take any bills or resolutions from any of our informal calendars? We would dispense with line items 8 through 14. Perfection consent.
Board Bill 178, sponsored by Alderwoman Peel, an ordinance recommended by the Board of Public Service to vacate a portion of air rights above a portion of Newstead Avenue in the city of St. Louis, Missouri, as hereinafter described, and authorize the construction of a portion of a structure in the vacated area under certain terms and conditions. That is the extent of perfection consent calendar.
Alderman from the 10th, you recognize on the motion for the perfection consent calendar.
Thank you, Mr. President. Members of the board, I move that we adopt the perfection consent calendar.
Moved by the Alderman from the 10th, seconded by the Alderman from the 22nd. Any discussion? All in favor signify by saying aye. Aye. Opposed? Motion carries. We will dispense with line item 16. Alderwoman from the 17th. Alderwoman from the 17th. Yeah, if you come, approach the mic. Would you like to make a motion for suspensions of the rules for the purposes of moving Board Bill 178 to the third reading calendar, regular third reading calendar?
President Reed, could I make the motion to move Board Bill 178 to the third reading calendar?
The suspension of the rules for the purposes
Suspension of the rules for the purposes.
of moving 178 to the third reading calendar. Yeah, only because, the other thing just takes a simple majority of the suspension, which is what we have to do now. That's a 2/3 majority, so. Just make the motion for suspension of the rules for moving Board Bill 178.
May I make a motion to suspend the rules for Board Bill 178?
Perfect. It's been moved by the Alderman from the 17th, seconded by the Alderman from the 8th, that we suspend our rules for purposes of moving Board Bill 178 to the regular third reading calendar. Any discussion? It's been moved and seconded. Madam Clerk, please call the roll.
Alderwoman Tyus. Alderwoman Middlebrook. Alderman Beezley. Alderwoman Evans. Alderman Page. Alderwoman Engrossment. Alderman Coder. Alderwoman Rice. Alderman Gunther. Alderman Vollmer. Alderwoman Martin. Alderman Stevens. Alderwoman Schweitzer. Alderwoman Howard. Alderwoman Green. Alderman Oldenburg. Alderwoman Peel. Alderman Todd. Alderwoman Davis. Alderwoman Spencer. Alderman Muhammad. Alderman Boyd. Alderman Vaccaro. Alderman Narayan. Alderman Cone. Alderwoman Clark Hubbard. Alderwoman Boyd. President Reed.
Aye.
Alderwoman Tyus. Alderman Beezley. Alderwoman Engrossment. Alderwoman Martin. Alderwoman Green. Alderman Muhammad. Alderman Cone. 22 aye votes.
By vote, staying the motion of the Alderwoman from the 17th. Madam Clerk, please place Board Bill 178 at the end of the regular third reading calendar.
So noted.
We dispense with line item 16, third reading consent.
Board Bill 51, Committee Sub, and Board Bill 82 as amended.
Alderman from the 10th, you recognize on the motion for the third reading consent calendar.
Thank you, Mr. President. Members of the board, I move that we adopt the third reading consent calendar.
Moved by the Alderman from the 10th, and I think seconded by the Alderman from the 25th. Any discussion? It's been moved and seconded that we adopt our third reading consent calendar. Madam Clerk, please call the roll.
Alderwoman Tyus. Alderwoman Middlebrook. Alderman Beezley. Alderwoman Evans. Alderman Page. Alderwoman Engrossment. Alderman Coder. Alderwoman Rice. Alderman Gunther. Alderman Vollmer. Alderwoman Martin. Alderman Stevens. Alderwoman Schweitzer. Alderwoman Howard. Alderwoman Green. Alderman Oldenburg. Alderwoman Peel. Alderman Todd. Alderwoman Davis. Alderwoman Spencer. Alderman Muhammad. Alderman Boyd. Alderman Vaccaro. Alderman Narayan. Alderman Cone. Alderwoman Clark Hubbard. Alderwoman Boyd. President Reed.
Aye.
Alderwoman Tyus. Alderman Beezley. Alderman Page. Alderwoman Engrossment. Alderwoman Martin. Alderwoman Green. Alderman Muhammad. 24 aye votes.
By a vote, you sustain the motion of the Alderman from the 10th and third read and finally pass the aforementioned bills. Third reading report of engrossments.
Board Bill 184 as amended, sponsored by Alderman Oldenburg, President Reed, and the following alderpersons: Howard, Davis, Vaccaro, Muhammad, Middlebrook, Boyd, and Evans. An ordinance recommended by the Board of Estimate and Apportionment authorizing an appropriation consisting of funds received under the American Rescue Plan Act of 2021, funds received into the city's capital fund pursuant to ordinance number 60419 as amended by ordinance number 61250, representing 1/2 of the operating balance of the general fund from the preceding fiscal year and revenues accruing to the public safety infrastructure account of the Economic Development Sales Tax Fund, all for the purposes of funding capital improvement totaling $86,980,000 as hereinafter detailed and containing an emergency clause.
Alderman from the 16th, you recognize on third reading and final passage of Board Bill 184 as amended.
Thank you, Mr. President. Members of the board, I move to Third read and finally pass Board Bill 184 as amended.
Moved by the Alderman from the 16th, seconded by the Alderman from the 1st, and the Alderman from the 27th, and the Alderman from the 14th.
Appreciate all the seconds.
Yeah, yeah. Alderman from the 16th, please proceed.
Thank you, Mr. President, members of the board. We have had lengthy discussions regarding this board bill. As you all know, the city has a glut of expenses around infrastructure and infrastructure improvement. All in, it's over $430 million of infrastructure assets and public improvements we need to make to the city's assets, the city's roads, the city's curbs, the city's bridges, the city's rec centers, the parks department, equipment for the fire department, equipment for the police department, equipment for the streets department. All these are necessary assets that we have deferred and deferred and deferred. We finally have the opportunity today with the ARPA dollars to begin to fund a long-range capital improvement plan, which we have on the books and assess every 3 to 5 years. So, no longer can the city cry poor in terms of investing in its infrastructure. We are able to do that here today. This is, as I told my family this morning, it's an $86 million pothole bill, if you want to think of it that way. We're going to invest in roads and bridges and infrastructure in the city, which we know will lead to long-term economic development. I also want to speak briefly about the amendments that took place last week. What we saw was compromise at the end of the day last week with the amendments that were added to this. That's $7.6 million that needs to go to critical and crumbling infrastructure in some of the major corridors in North City. And I state again, I publicly support that, and I wish we can find more, and maybe in the next round of funding we're able to work out a little bit more funding going to some of the, where the infrastructure is needed the most. The investment in infrastructure is needed the most. With that, Mr. President, I'll pause for any additional questions.
All right, any further discussion? Alderman from the 1st.
This is going to be fun. Sorry, Mr. President, members of the board. I rise in support of the board bill, and I want to thank the Alderman from the 16th, because compromise at 11:30 at night. But we were both reasonable, I believe, and the president was on, and the Alderman and I and the president have a little bit more information than maybe some of the other people. I am going to release that information right after this meeting, and then you all will see that we really are trying to be fair. It's not trying to do anything to anybody, but when you look at the unfairness of it, then you will say, boy, that's a small drop in the bucket toward fairness. I have ordered a lot of reports in the city of St. Louis. They are not going to be a pretty read for the city of St. Louis, because it's going to be much like this report that we have about the infrastructure, and it's going to show how unfair we've been to North St. Louis. So I want to thank you, Alderman. You're a statesman. I appreciate it, especially at 11:30 at night, and anybody who puts up with me at 11:30 at night, because I'm tired. And I go to bed at 9 o'clock because I'm up at 5 o'clock. So, but I do appreciate it. This is just a step, a drop in the bucket toward fairness. But I do want to thank both the president and the sponsor from the 16th for working toward a fairness. And I hope we do this with the rest of the money that is coming this way. And I think we can see some great improvements across the whole spectrum of the city. Thank you so much.
Thank you. Thank you. Let's give her a round of applause for that. Any further discussion? Any further discussion? Alderman for the 16th, before I allow you to close, I just want to thank both the Alderman from the 1st and the Alderman from the 16th for working so hard to get this thing done. This is, it really speaks to this board and how hard this board works to assure that there is compromise. And I really appreciate both of you. Alderman from the 16th, you recognize the close.
Thank you, Mr. President. Members of the board, I renew my motion.
It's been moved by the Alderman from the 16th, seconded by the Alderman from the 1st, the 27th, the 14th, and the 19th, that we third read and final pass Board Bill 184 as amended. Madam Clerk, please call the roll. There's been a request for previous roll. Hearing no objection, motion carries. So by your vote, you have adopted Board Bill 184 as amended.
Board Bill 178, sponsored by Alderwoman Peel, an ordinance recommended by the Board of Public Service to vacate a portion of air rights above a portion of Newstead Avenue in the city of St. Louis, Missouri, as hereinafter described, and authorizing construction of a portion of a structure in the vacated area under certain terms and conditions.
Alderman from the 17th, you recognized on third reading, final passage of Board Bill 178.
I make,
Just a minute, she's getting the cover. You gotta, here you
okay. I make a motion to have Board Bill 178 passed out of third read and finally passed.
It's been moved by the Alderman from the 17th, seconded by the Alderman from the 1st, that we third read and final pass Board Bill 178. Any discussion? Alderman from the 17th?
So I guess in close, in terms of discussion of this board bill, the board bill is for air rights request by Wash U to build a bridge over Newstead Avenue. And they want to build a bridge connecting two of their medical facilities in order to get a lot of their medical equipment over between buildings. It's going to be temperature controlled, and it will allow just protection in terms of them being able to use the facilities and making sure that in terms of, some of the studies that they're doing are not going to get infected by having them go outside, et cetera, et cetera. So that's their request. It's something very valuable to them. And then that's how I support it.
All right. Any further discussion? Any further discussion? It's been moved and seconded that we third read and final pass Board Bill 178. Madam Clerk, please call. It's been a request for previous roll. Hearing no objection, motion carries.
Okay.
All right. So, engrossment.
Board Bill 51, Committee Sub, 82 as amended, 184 as amended, and Board Bill 178.
All other business being suspended, the President shall in open session affix his signature hereto to the end that these may become law. Alderman from the 19th, you recognize on the motion for the courtesy resolutions calendar.
I move that we adopt our courtesy resolution calendar.
Moved by the Alderman from the 19th, seconded by the Alderman from the 14th, I believe. Alderman from the 22nd, you have something on?
Discussion?
For the courtesy resolution calendar?
Discussion, yes, sir.
Yes.
Thank you, Mr. President, members of the board. I just happened to be looking at Resolution 256, honoring Steve's Hot Dogs, sponsored by the Alderman from the 6th Ward, and I just think that's phenomenal. I really appreciate that, and I would like to be a co-sponsor. Matter of fact, it's such an honor that I would like to move that we embank Resolution 256.
It's been moved by the Alderman from the 22nd, seconded by the Alderman from the 14th, that we embank Resolution 256. Any discussion? It's been moved and seconded. All in favor signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Opposed? Motion carries. Madam Clerk, please make note of that.
Thank you.
Resolution 256 in bank. Any
So
further,
noted.
any further discussion? Any further discussion? It's been moved by the Alderman from 19th, seconded by the Alderman from 14th, that we adopt our courtesy resolutions calendar. All in favor signify by saying aye. Opposed? Motion carries. With that, we will dispense with line items 20 and 21, miscellaneous unfinished business.
We have none.
Announcements.
Tuesday, April 19th, 2022, full board meeting, 10 a.m. in the chambers, and that is the extent of the announcements.
Any further announcements? Any further announcements? Alderman from the 22nd.
Yes, Mr. President, members of the board, the HUD's committee will be meeting Saturday, April the 23rd for another town hall to talk about ARPA funds. Alderman from the 11th here? Okay, maybe the Alderman from the 13th. I apologize, I forgot the address. Alderman from the 13th, can you give us the address? 3459 Wilmington Avenue. Thank you.
All right, excellent.
I'm sorry, Mr. President, it's at 10 a.m.
10 a.m. All right, thank you. Alderman from the 7th.
Thank you, Mr. President, members of the board. In light of the Alderman's comments, I just wanted to stand up and show my appreciation and support for the Alderwoman from the 11th. Today's her last meeting. I know she's not here. Her and her family were going to D.C. for the Easter egg roll at the White House. Very exciting. Obviously, she's been a big advocate for this city, for organized labor, and sort of our expert on all things state of Missouri down here at the Board of Aldermen. She's going to be missed, and I think her departure is an example of some of the flaws with Proposition R. Hopefully, some of those can get worked out, but we're losing a good colleague who I know took her conflicts and screening those conflicts seriously. But at the end of the day, this new bill would impact her ability to provide for her family, and it's just sad that she's leaving under these terms. So thank you, Alderwoman. We'll miss you.
All right, thank you. Any further announcements? Any further announcements? Alderman from the 10th, you recognize on the motion to excuse.
Work? Do I need a microphone? Actually, no.
Yeah, actually you do for STL TV. They won't be able to pick you up.
I moved to excuse the 3rd, 6th, 11th, and 15th ward alder people for their necessary absence.
Moved by the Alderman from the 10th, seconded by the Alderman from the 4th. Any discussion? All in favor signify by saying aye. Opposed? Since I didn't hear any no's, motion carries. Alderman from the 10th, you're recognized on the motion to adjourn.
Thank you, Mr. President, members of the board. I move we adjourn to tomorrow, Tuesday, April 19th, 10 a.m. in chambers.
Alderman from 10th, you need to adjourn sine die.
Oh, I'm sorry. We'll adjourn sine die.
Sine die. It's been moved by the Alderman from the 10th that we adjourn sine die, or whatever, sine die. Entertain a second on that motion. It's seconded by the Alderman from the 4th. All in favor signify by saying aye. Opposed? We stand adjourned. Actually, we adjourn sine die.